Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Patty G Show. We're talking about marketing, AI, and well, do entrepreneurs really want to grow their businesses? This week we're joined with Ned of Brand Velocity Group and Apex. Great episode coming your way. Thank you again to our wonderful sponsors of the show that bring you this show each and every week. Falaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Cortex, and PB&J Productions. Enjoy the show.
I was on a podcast 5 months ago about IT, about managed service providers. And the guy was like, what do we want to talk about? I said, you need to talk about how the managed service provider space is extinct and they don't know it yet. He was like, what? And I said, well, Microsoft in Windows 11 has instituted self-healing support system through AI. The little things that generate a ticket for a help desk guy. I can't print. I can't open Word. I can't do this. AI is going to be able to fix that on the fly. So when you look at the managed IT market or IT support market, the first set of jobs gone are those low-level guys on the help desk, because as a company, I don't need them. I don't need the payroll. All of the ticketing systems on the market right now have instituted AI ticketing. So he was like, so what you're saying is the entire industry is really going to have an advantage. They're going to be able to cut these jobs out and maximize profitability because AI, which they're already paying for, is doing the heavy lifting on those little tickets. What I call the simple tickets. Yeah. The network level stuff you always need. So what it means is that you're going to be paying more for network level guys, but you don't have to have 4 or 5 guys sit on a help desk twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah.
And he was like, his mind was blown. I was like, it's 3 years away before companies start laying off help desk employees or telling them, you have to up your certs and become a network and a security guy, because if you don't, there's no spot for you here anymore.
I think it's all going to go to network and security.
It has to.
It has to, because even if you have all the systems in place, the one piece you will never be able to fix with the existing technology as of today is the human part.
Oh, 100%. Well, and switching and routing is the key. And other than bandwidth, security's fine. It's the whole another deal, but it's all about switching and routing. What you're actually seeing is the technology industry, the support of it is going literally backwards to the one thing we have to support is the telecommunications aspect, the in and out of the bandwidth and the parsing out of that to give people access to get in and out. It's all goes back to switching. And those types of guys are 6-figure guys that can handle networks.
Yeah. And you want those guys.
You have to have them.
You don't want, so then how are you going to train those folks up to get to that level?
That's the manufacturers. They have the training programs and all that stuff. And so you put them through certs and everything, but then but what you do is if you have 5 help desk guys and they're all making about 40, 45 grand a piece, out of 5 guys, there's probably 2, maybe 3 that they're not going to make it. They don't have the aptitude to move up. So you're saving payroll there. And then you take those other 2 or 3 that are left, you bring them up, and now you've got stronger teams. But the AI in all of the systems like the Synchros and Atera and the Kaseya's and all the stuff that manages networks, the AI is already in there answering tickets.
And I see it also in the financial world, compiling all of your quarterly reports you get from investment docs.
Oh, nice.
And all of the email traffic it can sync up to. So if somebody says, here's your your quarterly distribution, your monthly distribution, rather than having somebody then sit there and put it all into a dashboard for you, there's software that's already available now that we're working with that pulls all this stuff in. So it's pulling in the monthly reports, the quarterly newsletters, and all this communication back and forth from if you've got 10, 20, 30 investments in all these different entities, and you get those emails, it's linked to that. It pulls it up, puts it all in, and then gives you your dashboard. Here's how this investment performed, charts, graphs, you name whatever you want.
That's amazing.
It pulls it all together and says, and if it's something important, it'll flag, hey, you might want to follow up with this investment. It's looking like it's going downhill.
Oh, wow. Well, to me, AI is just stimulating a new renaissance for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because entrepreneurs can start businesses lean and mean with not a lot of investment capital and leverage AI to grow the thing to the point where they can really use the people and hire the right people in the right spot. And you're not going to see these bloated payrolls for all these startups. You're going to see a lot more 1 and 2 and 3 man shops. And how are you doing it? Well, we're using AI to do most of it.
Yeah. And what I've seen most helpful is standard routine document creation, policies, and SOPs, and it's still very rudimentary of what the uses that it can become. But like for my purpose, hey, put together this document that says X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth. That's fillable here, fillable there.
Yeah.
Spits it out. Like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Read through it. Yeah. Change this, change that.
Yeah. I mean, a lawyer still has to bless some of that stuff depending on what state you're in. But the raw creation of the stuff, you can't beat it. Like all these people that are complaining about AI, I just feel like I don't want to be around them. They're bringing me down. They're not like they're going backwards.
Yeah. So I mean, you're in a lot of technology. It sounds like what's your background here? How did we get to where we are? I know there's some interesting stories and branches we can go down. There's
some people I would say around Louisiana that are about my age or a little older, and we all kind of came up in the industry together. At heart, I'm sales and marketing and business development, but somehow or another, I lived in Florida for 2 years, a long time ago. And I got involved selling computers for a retail computer store, big white computers, big printers. And one of the first things that I did was I somehow sold a deal at, it was the big complex in downtown Pensacola where Rosie O'Grady's is, the big building with all 7 bars and all that. And they needed some computers, and we got to talking, and I just got hooked on technology, selling it because it was cool. And they ended up deploying probably the first internet cafe in the state of Florida with our 4 computers, 4 T1 lines, and people could go in while they're on vacation and check their email and stuff like that, which was very, very new at that time. And it was kind of kitschy, but that's what they wanted, and we did it, got in the newspaper for it and all this stuff. And I kind of was hooked from there. But I went from that to analog cell phones to working for a phone company, then helping launch Nextel in this market, the old beep beep radios, that never worked unless you were on the interstate. And then from there, I got hooked up with a company called Explore Interactive, which became Transformix. And for the first 3 years I was there, I helped them overhaul a content management website building system they had called Dynasite. And we started selling it worldwide. And we had private labeled it to telecom companies who were looking for other streams of revenue besides dial tone. And then, 2002, the telecom bubble burst thanks to the Clinton administration. And they deregulated everybody and split up all the companies. And then from there, Transformix went into regular IT support, custom app development. And I just liked selling that stuff. But through the years in between stuff like that, I've worked in food and beverage manufacturing, processing, some business development work, which stimulated the creation of the consulting business that I have now about 10 years ago. And I'm 54, going to be 55 next year. And you build quite a Rolodex over those years of, waking up one day when there's no internet and the next day we have fax modems, and that's really where me and a couple others like Tressie Leindecker and some others, she works for Rev now. We grew up in this. I mean, we remember the day when the switch was turned on and all of a sudden people were online, and so it's luck, people coming up today that I look at for new hires or that work with us, if they're in their 30s or less, they know nothing else. They don't know of a time when this stuff didn't just work. And and what's shocking is that on the sales side, what a lot of our clients complain about with our consulting firm, because we do fractional sales, we do business development work, is that they burn payroll on salespeople who it's not that they can't close or they can't talk to people. They don't have enough people to talk to. They don't have a network. So, I figured out a way to leverage 30 years of contacts and a Rolodex to help businesses grow. And in the meantime, took a little time off from the tech. And then the company that I'm managing partner of right now with I've got a partner who works in it with me. and then a couple silent partners, which it's a great little firm, 3-year little startup. So like all startups, finally our 3rd year, we're making money and we're, breaking even here and there and growing. But, the consulting business has dwarfed that, especially since the election. Prior to the election, things were slow. People were struggling and they wanted help, but they didn't want to spend money on it. We're now in this golden age of we're going to spend money on advertising and marketing and sales. And, we want to take on clients in that company that have one goal, growth. If you're trying to cut expenses or, that's not us. That's not what we do. But I have a guy that came to me and he said, I'm trying to get into this company. How would we market to him? And I said, I'll just pick up the phone and call my guy who works in there. And that's when it kind of hit me like, wait a minute, I've been doing this wrong. And I was doing it in the tech side of things with the tech companies I've been with, but it never dawned on me on the other side just to help people make connections and that, it could become a business. And that's kind of where it's at. I mean, the technology thing is sexy, and we use technology now in every aspect of every business that exists. I mean, even ditch digging. So we show clients how to leverage technology either, to support their company or to grow their company. And then we bring in the other layered services. I mean, we're even doing SBA finance consulting for several small businesses. I mean, that's the other thing. It's a golden age for SBA financing. We've hooked up with one of the oldest banks in Louisiana and a great company out of Texas that handles the processing of the SBA work. And we have 5 or 6 clients going through it right now. And we've done it ourselves. And, I first question I have with every prospect is, how are you financing yourself? What bank are you with? One of the people on our staff that does that, the finance expert, she has 30 years of banking contacts between Texas and Florida. Like the appreciation we're seeing from clients is that we can cover all their bases, and if we may not solve a problem per se through our own actions, but we can bring in the resources who can solve the problem for them.
Yeah. You've got that book of people like you call on that you've maintained relationships with well.
Yeah. And they're not a bunch of wackadoodles. They're people like us. They're there to serve a purpose and to serve a customer or to get more customers. And, for the most part, after 30 years, they're pretty heavily vetted, so they do a good job. But I've been really blessed the last 2 years on in all facets of everything.
So you've got 3 different enterprises you're basically running right now.
Yes. That's where we're at.
So how?
Very carefully. So the band has been a hobby for about 30 years. Most people around the state know us. We used to travel the country way back when I was younger. We're at the point now where we really just produce our own charity concerts. We choose 2 nonprofits each year and we do a big concert at LSU. We raise money through the ticket sales and donate some of the proceeds, if not all the proceeds, to the charity. And so it allows us to do what we do and have fun. We're not having to play weddings with bridezillas, and to do that. And we can still have fun as a band. Excuse me. But most of us in the band they've been with me for half the band's been with me for over 15 years. Some of us have grandkids now. So the gigging band thing as a hobby is only fun until you get to about 40, 45 years old. And then it's like, you really want to cherry pick your opportunities. For many years, we did the lighting of the city's Christmas tree, big charity events, we've been associated with, and we're very lucky and love doing them all. And we just got to the point where we were going to do our own thing with it. And we were going to look at what kind of charities that were around that were kind of overlooked, that needed the help to do things. We just finished one for Capital Region Crime Stoppers to help them put some funding into their wallet for educational programs and things like that they do. And in December, we're doing one for Capillary Casa for the kids that have the court-appointed special advocates, for the kids who have no parents that have to be in court. Great organization. And, we'll do a big holiday Sinatra concert for them.
I love it. And for those unfamiliar, what's the name of the band?
It's Ned Fasullo and the Fabulous Big Band Orchestra. When you Google me, just my name, the first like 8 pages are really just the band. It's just gotten the most press over the years. And so you got to dig into like 3rd and 4th pages of Google to find like my LinkedIn or anything about Apex or Velocity or anything like that. But we're in there still.
I love it. So you got the band happening, cherry-picked cases, doing it for the cause, which is great. So then the other time is during the year, you're running your 2 other enterprises.
Correct.
And how do you balance those? Because those do sound like a little bit more hands-on.
They're very hands-on. I'm lucky with Apex. We have a great staff. It allows me to step away a little bit here and there when I need to, but we share clients. So on the Apex side, a lot of those clients need the things that Velocity can do. And when Velocity picks up clients, there's a tech need there. So I'm able to feed clients between both of my business entities there, which helps both of them grow.
Right.
The Apex staff is great. Got about 6 techs in there. The other managing partner is a VP there. One of my daughters is the project manager, Swiss Army knife, invoicing, inventory. And they do a great job. When we target small businesses, I'm not looking for hospital systems and school districts. We have a lot of just really small customers that just want a good, consistent IT partner. We have a very fair pricing model, and it works.
Yeah, I think that's an overlooked subject when somebody is starting out a business is the IT side of things.
Oh, 100%.
They just think they can go and get a laptop nowadays, throw on Google Drive or something, and then they're off to the race, and that's all they need.
With no thought of security or anything. And the same, I think when you're starting a business, the same thing can be said of insurance. You start a business and you don't realize until 6 months in that you need insurance to be doing what you're doing. And those are the overlooked things. Marketing and IT, the things that people don't want to spend money on, but they should. And it's the first 2 things to get cut when money gets tight. That's kind of universal for small businesses.
Yeah, which is interesting for small businesses to consider cutting IT. Is it a topic of, well, we can do it ourselves, we can figure it out, and then I feel like that's always brought back before marketing.
It is that, and it's always that computer's sitting over there, we don't really use it. Well, but it's on the network, it has access to the internet, it is a potential point of failure for security, and when it is used, it needs to be managed like everything else. We're very fair in our pricing. It's been alleged that we're the cheapest guys in town, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But, for instance, you go into a dental office, there's people using computers all day. And then there's all the dental chairs, and each chair has a computer. We do lesser pricing on the chairs because there could be some days in a week that nobody's sitting in the chair. So we've been able to create some pricing methodologies that I think make people more comfortable with it. But it does generally boil down to, there's a guy in here that we hired and he can do this stuff. And, it's like me changing my own oil. It's not going to turn out well. That's not what I do. So, I take my car to the shop for that, and I don't mind doing that. And I think that with some businesses, it's just, they have a bad month or 2 or a bad quarter and they start getting in their head and then they can't get out of their own way. And they start looking, for me, it's always been with all the things I've done, especially with the companies I'm running and managing. If I have a bad month, I come out of the gate the second month bigger and badder and I'm gonna fix it. That I guess that need to recoil and protect yourself and circle the wagons is a knee-jerk reaction that most people have. And I've done it. I've lived through that. I've done those things before. And all I can tell you is that every time I did it, it never turned out any better. It was worth it to go out there. And then all of a sudden I land on a grenade and I've got a client who's pretty decent size that wants to do business with us in some format. And I'm like, okay, well, this isn't that bad, and it gets you out of your own head thinking that the worst is right around the corner.
Yeah. Which you're often stuck in for a good little while.
Oh yeah.
When you have that bad month or that bad week, it's like, how am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And as a business owner or an entrepreneur, you got to figure it out. You have to figure out what motivated you in the first place to get the business off the ground and then find that same feeling again.
Yeah. And look, every entrepreneur, business owner, wakes up at 3 a.m. sometimes and is just like, should I be working at Home Depot? Why am I doing this? there's probably a good management program at the mall. Maybe I could go do that, And it's like, then you come out of it and you're like, what was I thinking? Like, this is why I do this. This is, this is what I do. I'm responsible for X, Y, and Z for customers and employees and stuff like that. And it kind of keeps you going. I mean, there's some industries that get hit harder than others, I guess, seasonally and things like that. And certainly there's any number of things with the two companies that I'm involved with right now that could create a huge downturn. Most of that is driven by politics, because politically, we've seen over the last decade that has a big effect on spend, no matter what it is. And so, we want, I guess, growth-oriented politicians in office. We want people who do things. And ironically, I mentioned the SBA earlier. I don't think I've not seen this much SBA success and activity in Louisiana in 20 years. It's
Really?
Always been a big hurdle to go through that process. And now it feels like it's a bit of a renaissance. And maybe that has to do with how the restructuring has occurred in the federal government or things like that. But the access to funds to stimulate small business and entrepreneurship in the United States and bring business back here, it's never been higher. I mean, it's a great time for people to explore that. Now, regular banks, they still operate the same way.
Yeah. Well, they have to.
They have to. And what's funny is that we created the banking problem. I firmly believe that it's our fault. We deposit money into banks in the hope of being able to borrow some for ourselves at some point. And then they feel like all they do is go build more physical locations for themselves so that we have more places they can tell us no.
Welcome to the brand new Fasullo mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Fasullo mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Fasullo in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Fasullo, it's real estate reimagined.
But, a lot of them. But, and look, so much of what we do when we grow up, we don't listen to our parents. We don't listen to our mentors who say, guard your credit score with your life and always have be able to write a business plan and understand finance. We don't do that. And then we get into our 40s and we're like, we can't borrow any money. We can't do this because we didn't have the fundamentals, and we certainly aren't taught that in high school or college.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a big ecosystem, and you just have to be. A lot of it's right time, right place. A lot of it's preparation, and then effort.
Well, and then understanding finances, and even more so, personal finances.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We as individuals are businesses, whether we want to see it that way or not. We get our income maybe from a stable source, which means you got a good client as a business owner, or you've got a W-2 job as an employee. And when that money comes in, we have to figure out where it's going to get dished up and doled out.
Yeah.
And from probably 6 months before my wife and I got married, I started doing joint finances. So number one, I could figure out what her spending habits were.
Or she could figure out what yours are.
Or she could figure out what mine is. Right. We could transparent. Here's everything at, and I was using it through like Excel and very rudimentary. And it's just like, okay, here's my tab. Here's your tab. Give me your credit card statement. Okay, here's my credit card statement. All right, great. This is about what we're going to need. We're super young at the time. So, okay.
Yeah.
Then give me your parents that you were spending on their card as well, because that's going away. Like, we got to figure this out. And
your subsidized funding is going away.
Yes, our subsidized funding is going away. And I've got to we have to pick up the collective tab now. And from there, it evolved to doing like a full-on QuickBooks profile for us. And so I've got from before we got married, because I went back and re-entered all the transactions prior to our marriage.
Well, you're a finance guy. That's right up your alley.
I'm a CPA, right? So that's right up my alley. But still, it took my wife several years before she would even look at the balance sheet. And now, just some of the hot spot that she's got questions on. And so it's true. If you don't know what your financial situation is, how can you know what your business's financial situation is as a business owner?
100%.
And even more so when we're going through a house buying prospect and going through that whole process. Bank asks me a question. Here's a statement. Here's this. Here's that. You want a PFS? Here it is.
Yep.
Here's my balance sheet. I keep it updated every single month. I send out monthly updates to my wife, whether she reads them or not. That's on her. But I've got it all right there. Same thing for our business. Yeah. It's like I know where everything's at. I know where all the pieces are, and I'm not in a position of uncertainty, which then causes uncomfortability, which then causes you to be uncertain about the life of the business itself.
Yeah. I mean, I go into the office at Apex almost every single day, and literally the first thing I do is I have to log into QuickBooks. And I'm not a finance person. That's my wife, definitely CPA by trade, CFO for her career, has guided me and trained me on the importance of these things. And I mean, she was managing, companies like Walk-Ons and, big construction companies back in the day. I mean, big finance. So, I had to, when I took this over with Apex and started it, and then the consulting firm on the side, it was, my world is in QuickBooks every day. And it's for a person of my mentality, sales, marketing, business development is the worst, but I have to do it. I have to keep my finger on the pulse of all of it. And one of the things she's taught me, and I wish she would write a book about this, or she have, I've told her, you gotta tell this to the world for business owners. It's not about EBITDA. It's not about gross revenue. It's about cash management. If you can figure out cash management on a monthly and quarterly basis, you can be a successful business owner and you can grow a business. And too many times I hear people talking about, when they look at your financials, or they're, oh, we got this much EBITDA. EBITDA doesn't matter. EBITDA has no impact on my life whatsoever. Even if somebody wants to buy my company, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about EBITDA. I care about cash management, because that's how you make payroll. That's how you pay your bills, so your DUNS number doesn't get nailed for your business credit. It is. And she has literally she's like a money prophet with that. And she's told every company and business owner and entrepreneur she's ever worked for. And she is a wizard with cash management. Even in bad situations, she's been able to save companies tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of lost dollars. And she'll tell anybody, if you ask her, 100%, if you can master cash management, you're going to make it.
And EBITDA then becomes EBITDAR. Then it becomes adjusted EBITDA, and it's like they're trying to pull this magical number that they can either use as a multiple to sell, a multiple to borrow. Yeah. And you're right. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We need to look at your cash flow.
Yeah.
And then if you've got multiple entities, we need to see global cash flow, because you've got oftentimes situations where business owners will run into a Peter and Paul situation. You're moving it here and moving it there. And then you're like, well, where'd all the money go? So, well, now you've got this whole train to follow before you get there. And it's like, okay, well, if you would have done just this instead of that, you would have fixed everything.
I blame private equity and venture capital on the EBITDA problem. and I'll tell you why. It's because they make decisions based on financial documents. They don't tend to make decisions about acquisitions or things like that in terms of the day-to-day operations of the business. How many clients it has. So like in the tech world, everything is, 7 to 11 times EBITDA. Yeah and no, because Apex could be sold in another year or two, because there's somebody out there who likes the fact that I've got 3,000 or 4,000 machines under management, because that person is thinking that times the monthly fee per machine, then I add in email, then I add in data backup, then I add in security cameras. You can take that and then look at gross sales and go, oh yeah, that's a valuable business. I don't really care what your EBITDA is, because when I take you over, I'm probably getting rid of the guy who owns it, who has the most payroll or has the most, and you can look at those in different ways. And I really do think that while it's a good model, it has tainted that small business market, because so much emphasis has put on that for people to have an exit strategy. And it's all about EBITDA, But at the end of the day, if I have a consulting firm and I can bill $3 million a year and everybody's under a 36 or 48 month contract, that's pretty valuable. When you start to look at the balance sheet and the P&L, and you're taking away all the things that the owner does through his business, you see even more profitability. So at the end of the day, I believe for small business owners, because I have 2 right now that are clients that want us to position them for an exit in 3 years. And so we have a very specific plan, sales and marketing wise, to build the business to get there, but on the finance side, to keep it lean as possible. And I think that's a much different approach than just saying, I have a small business and I want it to be successful. Those are 2 different tracks.
Right.
And you can build something that's highly valuable and EBITDA really not come into play. I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I think it's a shadow and everybody gets caught in it.
It is, and it's always that term that people throw around that they think bears so much weight, when in reality, I'd much rather hear, okay, what do you cash flow in a month?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
there's some.
And what's at the end of the day, what's your cash flow?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, honestly, I think I just saw this on LinkedIn the other day. There's this really good-looking professional CPA lady who's got a podcast, and she's on LinkedIn all the time, followed by tens of thousands. And one of the things on her post is it's like her, looking all great, and she goes, I don't care about your EBITDA. Tell me about your cash flow. And I'm like, that's it. That's right there. That is it right there. And if you can't hear a good looking woman tell you that and understand it, then, you're just lost. I can't help you.
Right.
But yeah, it's a lot of that is just comes in coaching. My wife does some stuff for a lot of our clients, and a lot of it is coaching. It's not books. It's not showing them how to use QuickBooks. It's teaching the business owner, this is what's important. This is what you should do each month. Don't pay that off yet. Do this instead, and helping retrain their brains, because if I just open QuickBooks and start an account and I start running a business, I'm going to start doing what QuickBooks is telling me to do. And unfortunately, that is a very small, myopic view of your finances. It's a framework.
And QuickBooks is also operating under the assumption that you are doing everything exactly right.
Exactly. To the letter of the law. and not that we want to break the law, but you got to bend some things sometimes.
Well, but not even the letter of the law. Using the system in the way in which they designed it to work, meaning it's kind of like a textbook, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where every example is right. Or in every example, there's a finite solution. There is a place that you have to get to that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
And if you don't do one thing or another in the way that they wanted you to do, doesn't know how to respond to it.
Exactly.
And it always tries to tell you to do this instead of doing that. And just from a categorization standpoint of importing bank transactions, all that stuff, it's like I've seen it and I see it every single day. You look at it, I'm like, that's not right. That's not supposed to be that. And then, okay, well, if you're not using the AP function correctly and you're not entering your invoices on the front end and you're not doing the terms right, it's not going to forecast your cash flow correctly,
right?
Because you could have a default 14-day term or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But that invoice really says, oh no, we're net 30.
Yeah.
Well, I just bought you 15 more days of cash flow.
Yeah.
16 more days of cash flow than what QuickBooks was going to tell you to pay that bill.
Exactly. And like you and my wife are in the same brainwave area, right? Y'all can take a set of financials and immediately tell a guy, this is what I see wrong. This is what I would start to look at and dig into and change.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a skill set from a financial coaching perspective that I think is lacking across the board in small business. I think too often and nothing wrong with this, but they go, well, I've got a CPA that does that. CPAs are doing your taxes, and I don't know that all CPAs are the best cash managers. They will run it to the letter of the law through a QuickBooks or a Xero or a Sage or something like that. And not that it's wrong, but sometimes it produces problems for the business and causes a struggle where none needs to be. And I think that all businesses should have their CPA, but I think they should have a financial coach who comes at it from a little different angle within the bounds of what the CPA needs and what the IRS needs and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the things that's made our work with our clients very attractive to them, is that we're helping them. We're not displacing the CPA.
Yeah.
We're just going to come in and say, here's what we're going to do to talk to your CPA and figure these out. And 9 times out of 10, the CPA is like, oh, yeah, we can do all that. They just don't, because they're not there to run the business. They're there to manage the financial picture of the business in terms of the books.
Yeah. This episode of the Patty G Show is brought to you by Cortex. Cortex is the trusted technology partner for small businesses across Louisiana, delivering managed IT, cybersecurity, and smart strategies to help you leverage AI without the confusion. I mean, aren't we all confused by AI nowadays? As a locally owned
company, we understand the challenges Louisiana businesses face and provide tailored solutions that keep your operations secure and efficient. Whether you're looking to strengthen your cybersecurity or explore how AI can give your business a competitive edge, Cortex is here to help. Be sure to mention the Patty G Show and receive a free cybersecurity risk and analysis to see where your business stands. And you get that with your traditional CPA world.
Yeah.
Where you come in with that question, you present me all that stuff, I look over and go, yeah, that makes great sense. And then they're always like, well, why didn't you tell me to do this? Well, because in a traditional CPA world, I have 300 of you, and I can't sit there and isolate every single one of you to give you all this.
And you're not
stuff.
coaching is the problem.
Right.
In order for you to be that to them, you have to be a meaningful part of their business world on a weekly basis. So you kind of have your finger on the pulse, and that's not what you're there to do.
Yeah.
And not that, and what you do is extremely important, and it does help them, but a lot of those people just need that type of a person looking over their shoulder saying, here's a couple things to talk to your CPA about. And that's really the first thing that Amy does for our clients on our side. Is the first thing she says is, we're going to talk to your CPA before we do anything, because that's how that works. There's a team there, right? Now there's 3 brains looking at this, figuring out the best outcome. And at the end of the day, most of the CPAs are like, tell me what to do, and that's what we'll do. And that's where I think a lot of small businesses they don't have the information. They don't know that there are people out there like you and like Amy and people like that that can be that for them and give them suggestions and tell them a better way to do it. And then in your case, investments and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have folks that they'll have their own in-house controller, and they'll send me quarterly stuff, and I'll read through it, and I'll look through the financials, and I'll ask a bulleted list of questions. And they'll come back with responses as like, oh, well, we actually need to look more into that. It's this, because I'm looking at from a higher view, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Give me more detail. And then we have a conversation. It's like, okay, well, if you did all that last quarter, is this happening now? If so, we need to have a proactive conversation.
Yeah.
Because we got to fix it.
Yeah.
So but again, we've tailored what we do to be not having all these different people that we have to answer to, that we have to keep all that in mind, where I can count on maybe both my hands how many people that we're working with, that I know the ins and outs of every single part of their business.
Exactly.
And that was a big shift that we had to get away from, was that traditional lens of, yep, we're going to process 3,000 tax returns this year. We're going to process all this stuff. And it's money punching. It's just people punching in numbers to get an end result. You're having somebody review it very quickly and pass it along and get it filed.
Yeah.
And it goes back to your private equity question, or your private equity comment about how they tend to create more problems. We've seen that in the service-based businesses.
Oh, yeah.
Your CPAs, your engineers, your IT managed services.
Yeah.
Where they come in and they look at EBITDA. They look at what's the driving force behind revenue. Great. If I get more people in here and I create more billable hours, I'll drive up revenue, and then I'm going to sell them in 5 years. It's a 5 to 7 life cycle generally when somebody gets bought by private equity, and now you're in a loop. But on the front end for the small business owner, it's a very attractive sale.
100%.
It's a very attractive sale. But what I've seen is you have that come into play, and if they're buying up these service-based businesses, what's most impacted outside of the clients they don't intend to keep are the people doing the work at the low staff and mid-staff level.
Yeah.
Because they're doing all the hard work.
I will say that in the IT world, locally in Louisiana, unfortunately, the companies that have been bought out by private equity, or bought out, acquired, whatever you want to call it, I guess, rolled up, there's always a complete drop off in customer service for the customer. And that is because traditionally these companies lose a lot of a staff when they get acquired, and private equity does not understand customer service.
They understand EBITDA.
They understand EBITDA. If we could tie EBITDA to customer service, now we're on to something. But and not just me. I mean, everybody in IT will have somebody call them, say, well, so-and-so just got bought out. We can't get a call back. We don't know what's going on. And they switch to a vendor who's local again. And look, I tell people, I'm happy to come save you and I'll be your hero. But look, in 3 to 5 years, I may be that guy that you're complaining about because we sold. That's just the nature of the beast, just understand it.
It's the business life cycle, and that's why there's always room for people to start new businesses.
Exactly.
Because it gets, and I think it's a good, healthy cycle, right? We got to clean ourselves every now and again.
Yeah.
And that's part of that cleanse is somebody being bought out, recognizing some troubles and headaches that come along with it and say, you know what, we're going to go back to where we started. But now we've got all this knowledge of going through that. We can set ourselves up, position ourselves differently, and roll with it.
And I think too, I mean, I've been in the IT world on and off for 30 years now. There are no customers that stay longer than 7 to 10 years with any IT provider. Most these days are cycling and changing IT providers 3 to 5.
It's as soon as my contract's up, I'm out.
It's not necessarily because of unhappiness. When it is because of variety and whose commercial they saw and whose billboard they saw. And that's where sales and marketing comes in for the small business, is being in the right place at the right time. So when somebody gets a hair that they want to investigate a change, that you're the guy they see.
Yeah. And then it's what type of service are they going to provide within those first 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
And so you ask, then the question becomes, okay, how do we stop that cycle? How do we maintain client relationships beyond 3 to 5 years?
In the IT world, it's not going to be possible anymore. And again, that goes back to that whole AI comment we made earlier about AI eroding customer service as a human, piece of the machine. I think it's going to boil down to, and I think a lot of it has to do too with, again, politics. You have cycles of economic up and economic down. And I don't know that it's healthy for in the IT and technology world for small businesses and medium-sized businesses to stay with the same company longer than 7 years, because all companies suffer from a level of complacency at some point. They have ups and downs like other small businesses. I mean, it's, think about East Texas to Florida, maybe north as far as Tennessee. It's the largest patch of small businesses that are constantly just more and more starting up. There's more business in Baton Rouge than all 30 IT companies that are here, us included, can shake a stick at. There's not enough of us. That's the weird part.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There's not enough of us. If you really put the pencil to the paper, there's not enough good IT firms. There's a lot of IT firms, but now multiply that from, take Houston, Dallas, Metroplex, all the way over to, Florida. Still not enough. There's more opportunity and business opportunity for an IT company than they know what to do with. That's why when people are always like, who's your competitor? I'm like, I got to be honest with you. There's probably 2 or 3 that I would say are competitors, because we've traded clients off here and there. We've done something with them. But ordinarily, my competition is the muddied water of the business owner in his head, not understanding that IT is a utility. Marketing is a utility. It should be treated as such, not an expense. Because when they see it as a utility, it's a tool for growth. And there's always the small businesses that are looking for the cheapest way to do it. And a lot of the IT firms in Baton Rouge, Gonzales, this area, they're not cheap, but they do a good job, and they do something that's worth it. But after a year or two, you're going to have a guy who's got no problems. Everything's running smooth. And he's going to look at his P&L one month and go, why am I paying $5,000 a month to these guys? What do they do? And it's like we have those conversations every quarter. And we have to come in and tell a client, well, this is how many hours we worked under your unlimited plan. And they go, oh, wow, that's a lot of hours. These are the reports you get every month. Oh, I never look at those. So I am doing a lot for you. Your decision is you're either going to stay with us, or you're going to find somebody who's going to do less, and you're going to pay less. And then you're going to start to have problems. And it's the same thing with health insurance, with business insurance. Every year when you get your renewals, you're like, I'm going to shop this around. It just happens. So we just try to do the best job that we can. At Apex, we haven't lost, maybe 10 clients total in the 3 years we've been doing this.
Wow.
We keep about 80 on the books at all times, clients. Velocity, we've got about 28 clients right now. We've only lost one or two. And it was not saying against the business itself, it was a good loss only because they weren't ready to be working with a firm like ours, and we should not have been working with them. So we've learned a lot the past 2 years about who's the right kind of client for us. And it's not all about budget. It's about mindset.
Okay.
It's about that customer. I want to grow. I want to move forward. And so we've learned a lot about that, and we've been very cherry picky about how we do things. We don't want to go out to the world and just take every small business who, we need a website. I mean, we can do that, but it's normally a part of a full-fledged sales and marketing plan that lasts 12 months. And that part is built in there because it's a tool.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff in there. If you're just looking for that, I'm probably not your guy, but I can recommend plenty of people who can achieve that for you. And so that changes the conversation. And it tells me right there, if that person goes, well, wait a minute, what do you do? Or they say, okay, great, who's the guy? And I'm fine.
You're fine either way.
I'm fine either way, because I don't want to work with people that's just going to become an unhappy marriage. That's not how we want to be. And we really do, on both sides, we want, on the Apex side, on the tech side, I want people who appreciate that we do a good job for them and we take care of them and their needs, and we become a part of their operation to help them with tech, whether it's a small school or, a retail store or a healthcare provider. And on the consulting side, I want people who tell me, I'm ready to jump off the starting line. I want to get this thing going. And what does that look like? And so we really put a lot of time in with the clients. I mean, clients are like, well, what do you charge? I'm like, whoa, I got to learn everything about your business for at least the first week of talking to you. I'm going to feed that data into our system. I'm going to figure out if we are a good fit, if I think that we can make the needle move for you. And then I'm going to put together a free competitive market analysis so I can tell you what you don't know. And that is what you're really up against. My father-in-law made one of the greatest comments I've ever heard when I first met him. We were talking about startups at dinner one night. And he said, general rule of thumb, if there are 10 people on Amazon already selling it, you probably shouldn't do it. And so I took that mentality and looked at over the years, what does it look like in terms of a greater market? Because he's not wrong. I want to sell headbands. Well, I can go on Amazon and I can buy from 100 different providers headbands. Well, then why do you want to do headbands? That doesn't make any sense. You're starting off undercapitalized with no way to compete with the people who are already doing it. So I look at that across regular business, and somebody comes to me and says, we're going to start up a company. We're doing XYZ. Okay. Well, here's what's already happening around you. So in order for you to be successful, you're going to need to look at this much capital, this much in connections and sales and marketing, and then finance and managing that. So at the end of the day, if you really, really want to do it and we think we can make an effort, we'll take you on. But a lot of times it causes people to go, oh, what does that mean? Like, they don't realize, a good idea is just a good idea. It's not a business model.
Yeah.
And so really trying to help them. And then business owners who have successful businesses, and then they're saying, I want to branch off into this direction. And it's kind of what we do, but it's a little different. And we go, okay, let's go look at what little different really means, because that can be very expensive. And if it's completely different than what you do, but you do have clients that want to buy it from you, it's still going to be a loss leader for the first 12 months until you get it ramped up. And it really does come down to that stuff. And then once we get all that agreed upon and they're still good, then we dive into how we're going to market it and what does all that mean and what does it look like, and all the pretty things, we call it.
The pretty things.
Yeah.
So, and when you're doing this, have you ever had clients come in just super eager, excited to work with you, and then you kind of feed them all that information and they're just like, oh, you keep going down that path and they're just like, oh, well, I don't know if we're going to, is it led with, we're not going to be a good fit? Or have you ever had somebody like leave your office like, well, Ned, I don't know if I want to keep going in business anymore.
A couple times. Ironically, they were nonprofits or people trying to start a nonprofit. And I can tell you, I'm on the board of the Alliance here. I've been on and off of it for years, and I love working with nonprofits and helping them with tech and with consulting. But as the Alliance leadership will tell you, there are like 27,000 registered 501c3s in Louisiana, and only 8,000 of them are active at any one time, and only about a third of those are actually doing something. So the first thing they do is when someone calls their office and says, how do I start a nonprofit? They try to talk them out of it, because they will tell them up front, this is the battle you're going to fight. So for a lot of those people, it turns into, what if we could direct you to a nonprofit that needs somebody with your energy and your input, and you could be a board member or you could contribute to that nonprofit. And they've really pioneered that type of system. In our world, it's like any other thing. Great idea, great concept, no capital, and not enough name recognition to generate donations to fund the capital needed it's a circle, right? Yeah. And so a lot of times it's been those types of deals, and it's just been, doesn't work.
And I think in the nonprofit space specifically, there are so many nonprofits in existence and doing great things that, to your point, it's let's connect you with the two that are operating, doing exactly what you want to do. See how you can be a service to either of them and help them grow.
Yeah.
Rather than having two nonprofits start up doing the exact same thing, and you're both trying to like get out there and service that person before the other one does.
I call the Alliance and I say, I want to start something to save cats.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how are you different than Cat Haven? How are you different than, this organization that does, well, we're going to do it differently this way. You're really not. At the end of the day, you're creating another entity that within 6 months to a year is just going to fold up, because you're going to realize that it's impossible. Like, it's very, very hard to do what you're trying to do unless you have a significant amount of capital behind you to get it started from an operational.
This episode of the Patty G Show is brought to you by Cortex. Cortex is the trusted technology partner for small businesses across Louisiana, delivering managed IT, cybersecurity, and smart strategies to help you leverage AI without the confusion. I mean, aren't we all confused by AI nowadays? As a locally owned company, we understand the challenges Louisiana businesses face and provide tailored solutions that keep your operations secure and efficient. Whether you're looking to strengthen your cybersecurity or explore how AI can give your business a competitive edge, Cortex is here to help. Be sure to mention the Patty G Show and receive a free cybersecurity risk and analysis to see where your business stands.
Now, some of the nonprofits that are very successful, we've worked with some where we've tried to help steer them into figuring out a service or a product that they can sell, quote unquote, to generate additional funds that aren't associated with donations, so that you can start to try to show them, like, it could be a t-shirt, it could be a hat, it could be anything. But if that can help fund your operational expenses, your donations can go more and more to the mission. And right now you have tons of nonprofits that do really great things and they can raise money, but you have to ask yourself how much of every dollar is going to mission versus keeping the place moving forward. And sometimes they get caught in a vicious cycle with that. And so it's stuff like that we try to help them with. And look, a lot of nonprofits, I've given away a lot of free websites to nonprofits to help them out, just to be like, here, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to set up a website for you. We're going to get you going. It's going to take donations and see if they can make it work.
See if they can do it, yeah.
And rarely do they do it, but some have. And I've still got a couple of those that are kind of moving along at their own pace, and they do good things. And but it's difficult. I mean, we tell people when we do webinars for the Alliance, for their members, first of all, you're a small business. Your nonprofit status is a tax filing status that has nothing to do with how you're going to operate exactly like every other business in the world. You're going to generate funds exactly in the same ways. So the fact that you're a 501c3 just means something different to the IRS, but you have to operate and manage it just like every other business. And a lot of times their mindset is, well, we don't do that. We're a nonprofit. Well, it's like, no. You're a business. And that's how that goes. And so it's just, a lot of times it's disappointing them. And unfortunately, kind of like, hey, don't shoot the messenger. These are just the stats.
Which is true.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be upfront with people. And And look, I'm okay with telling people I'm not a great fit, even if we really, really want to work with you. I'm not a good fit. I've got other friends and colleagues in these industries. I can set you up with what I think is a better fit than us. We're not trying to be all things to all clients. We have our little niche areas. We know exactly what kind of clients we like. And I think, just as I preach it to my clients, that's the smart way to do it.
Have you ever had to fire a client you took on that over time became misaligned with where y'all wanted to be?
Only on the tech side, and not with the company I have today, but with a former company. I didn't own the company, but I was the managing director of the small business side, and we fired several clients. A lot of times it was for non-payment, unfortunately, but it was misaligned from that standpoint. They could not appreciate or accept the service being delivered, and as such, were hesitant to pay bills on time. And so we met in the middle, made sure everybody was taken care of, and parted ways as best we could. But those happen more often than not, especially in the bigger IT firms.
Yeah, they just become misaligned because, to your point, if they think things are running smoothly, they think that everything on the back end is also running smoothly. And so they're like, well, why do I need you? What are you doing here anymore?
And I've told clients in the past, I've said, do you call your health insurance provider every month and ask them what they do for you? And they're like, no. And I said, well, why are you raking me over the coals? And, I'm just joking, but it is the same thing. And I say IT and marketing and things like that are a utility. They are, but good IT support is an insurance policy against downtime. And this isn't 25 years ago when the computer was just, we sort of use it for work. Find me a company right now today that if I cut off their internet can operate. Can't find one. So more important is how IT companies approach what they do for clients. And if I had to counsel anybody in IT, in sales, I would tell them, come at it from the standpoint of a comprehensive approach and an identical deliverable to your health insurance or your business insurance. You can't quantify it. It's intangible, but the moment you need it, you can turn it on and it's there and it gets you back where you need to be. There is no difference in that. For technology support. And that's, I think, too often younger salespeople in the industry lean on the sexiness of the product or the cybersecurity or the terminology. And that's great. And it's euphoric when you're in the first meeting and they sign on, but then 6 months later, they're like every other client. They're wondering, how did we get into this spot?
Yeah.
So
how are we here? So on the front end, when you're having the consulting conversations, do you often turn people down because of how they are walking in saying, hey, we just need some marketing to be done,
I'll be honest with you, we don't have a lot of people walking in. We've been cherry picking the clients we want to work with. And they either have just told us, look, no up front, thanks for offering. But the other third, about a third of them totally want to talk to you, want to hear what you guys are doing and how you're different. They all assume that we're a digital marketing agency, and we're not. We have the same tools in our toolbox, but I'm not a Sasso. I'm not a Mesh. Those guys are dealing with brand and national type clients and regional type clients, and we don't do that, and they don't do what we do. I mean, I can come in for a client and do fractional selling. They could fire 3 sales reps, and I can be more productive with 10 hours a week than their 3 sales reps were. And there's no payroll expense and no benefits expense. And I've got a large network. I can make things happen. That's not what those guys do. They're doing things at a magnificent level. Some of the stuff is just unbelievable, right? But that's just never where I wanted to be with that type of thing. We use the tactics of digital marketing to support what we do on fractional selling and consulting and things like that. But, we've been able to approach some clients that for whatever reason got it right when we started talking to them. And we're like, that's different. That's what we want to hear about, because they get hit up all the time from marketing agencies and things. And look, nothing wrong with it. It's all great. Everybody's got their place, but there's some PTSD around that in the small business market.
Yeah.
A lot. and they've kind of been pitched the same thing over and over and heard the same thing over and over. And we approach it from a framework that's a lot different, that integrates the digital side with the physical and the selling and the finance side, and show them that what they've built is an ecosystem. And if any parts of that ecosystem start to fail, it affects the whole system. And so, you know, some entrepreneurs get that and understand it, business owners. Others fight that they're the problem. They come around, but they don't want to admit, you know, that, okay, well, that's me. I'm doing that wrong.
Yeah.
But that's what makes them entrepreneurs, right? I mean, you can't knock them for being how their brain works. But yeah, that's kind of how that works. I don't know if I answered that question, but
yeah, that
felt like I did.
And it did, absolutely.
At least I've used a lot of words.
It sounded like the answer was answered.
It sounded really good for a second. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, before we get you out of here, we do have a set list of questions we ask every guest.
Word.
What is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Play piano.
You can't play piano anymore?
So I played by ear. I was born with the gift of a perfect pitch and an ear.
Wow.
And in piano lessons, the piano teacher caught on that I was listening to the songs at home and then coming in, and I was playing, but I wasn't reading the music. I could not read sheet music to save my life. I mean, if I did, it was like, like one note at a time. And I had a serious deficiency with mathematics as a young person in grade school. I didn't like it, but I also had struggled with math a lot. And the music teacher would tell my parents that it's the math side of the brain that can help read music, but he's got an ear. So if he just keeps listening and keeps playing, he'll be able to, you know, enjoy it. But it won't be something like I can sit down and open a sheet of music, like my band members can open a book at a concert and read it and play an instrument. I can't do that. If I could do that over again, I would work harder to learn how to read music.
Yeah. That was one of the ways I was able to pick up the piano, was because I figured out where C and C are, and then I knew treble clef because I played saxophone. And
nice.
Then the hard part was bass clef.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have been organized that way.
Yeah.
It should have all just been the same thing.
It's really stupid. I still remember the 6 songs that I did in 3rd grade piano class too. I can still play them at my house, but it's just those 6 songs. That's all I'm good for.
Yeah. Now we'll leave the music over to Jay. He's the music theory.
Well, that's why I have a band. They say, you know, what's the joke? What do you call a guy with 10 musicians? A singer. I just got to remember words. So.
Okay. So you've done a lot over the course of your career. What are like 3 lessons you've gathered along the way?
Take risks. You don't get anywhere in life being risk averse. I mean, don't be stupid. Don't put your family in jeopardy or your life in jeopardy, right? But take risks. Don't be afraid to, with those risks, don't be afraid to tell people who you are and what you do. Don't be afraid to have integrity with it. Don't risk your integrity. Don't be afraid to borrow the money, and be diligent in paying it back. But take risks, and if you're really going to go after something and build it for yourself, and not build wealth for somebody that you work for, don't be risk averse.
So, what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
You know, I grew up here. Except for the 3 years I lived in Pensacola for a few years, long time ago. And I say I love a lot about Baton Rouge. There's a lot I hate about Baton Rouge, but they're the normal things that everybody hates. I hate how we do things politically. I hate how we do things from a government standpoint. I hate how we do things with traffic and, you know, with roads. But those are the things that occur in all places, just varying degrees. What I love about it, Baton Rouge as a whole, is that it's the biggest little town ever. Everybody knows everybody, which can have good and bad. But growing up here, it does give you a grounded sense of knowing that it's a family-oriented city. Most of the time, the people you grew up with, you can go to for help or a favor or do something for them, and it's reciprocated. And again, that's got a flip side, right? You know, you can't fart in Baton Rouge without somebody knowing it. So that's the small aspect of it. Definitely the food. I think in the last 10 years, especially since COVID, it's come a little bit further positive in some things. I think that, as much of a struggle as it is for small businesses to start here, once they start, if they can make it through the first year or two, they do tend to grow and they do tend to survive. And I think South Louisiana as a whole is a great opportunity for startups of all kinds. Obviously, food and entertainment are not lacking in Baton Rouge. LSU football. I mean, we've got a son at A&M, so I cheer for both. But there's a lot about Baton Rouge that's great. I think a lot of things I think are great are also unfortunate. I mean, I'm fortunate to have been raised in Catholic schools. Our kids went to Catholic schools. I think it's unfortunate that all kids can't have that opportunity and not have to pay big bucks for it. I think it's unfortunate that some of our public school system is trash, but a lot of it is not. There are public schools that are great. I think that, that's one of the weird things about Baton Rouge. It's kind of lopsided and within the same little bucket, it's lopsided. It shouldn't be. But I think that, over the next 10 years, there should be a lot of change here that will be for the better. I don't know where I'll be, but I'll be back and forth for sure. But, unfortunately, when grandkids are born in Texas, mom's going to be in Texas with her grandkids. So, that kind of stuff happens. But I'll tell you that everywhere we go and travel, we always have a great time. But we come back here and it's like, the Julio's is the best or Stabs is the best. I mean, there's just certain things that you can't recreate outside of where we live. And I think that's one of the best things about where we live. It has that uniqueness to it, and it feels like family when you're here.
Yeah. And when you go and travel and you come back, you've got like already in your head where you're going to go.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. When I lived in Pensacola for 3 years, every weekend we came back for LSU games, and we were going to Phil's, we were going to the Chimes, we were going to do, that's what, that was already in our head because you didn't have those things in other places, nothing near it.
Right.
And certainly not the quality of food and entertainment. So it's like, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, which is great that we can say that about here is you've got when you're away and you're traveling, you come back, you're like, I already know where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do.
100%.
And when you're here, you still do that and you kind of want to break every now and again.
Yeah.
But then it's when you come back, you're like, yep, we're going right back there.
And look, we've told our kids we don't want them to be in college here. And two of them have, but the other three, are probably going to be in Texas or some other Western state. And we've told them go out and experience the world a little bit so that if you come back here, the level of appreciation you have for where you were born and where you were raised is much, much higher. Because a lot of people do that. We do. I mean, as much as the press says we don't have the boomerangs, I got to be honest, I've been here a long time. There's plenty of boomeranging going on. Plenty of people come back here to raise kids and put them back in the same schools that they went to and all that stuff. And that's what really shows you that it's worth something. But, I don't like the fact that a lot of kids grow up here, go to LSU, work here, die here. It's like there is a bigger world out there. And working in just other southern states is drastically different and living there than being here. But, that's just, that's a personal choice. That's not an edict or anything across the board. But I do like the fact that kids can go away and come back.
We have a very large boomerang population.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of boomerangs on the show, actually, where they've talked about that. And they said, when we wanted to start a business, we came back here.
Yeah. And
it's just so cool to hear that that's going through their head and they're getting out and going and see different places.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Yeah, for sure.
What can I do to help you?
Man, I don't know. Just keep doing your show because I like it. I know we've sent a few guests your way and we're going to work with you on some stuff to help you grow your show. And I think that's exciting because I think you've got a really great concept. I think it's so different than, what's on the radio. And again, nothing against that, but what you're doing is it's so focused on Louisiana and the spirit of entrepreneurship and opportunity here. It's just very different. And I think, you keep doing it, it's just going to get bigger and bigger for you. So kudos to what you've built because a lot of people have tried and you seem to have a formula. But yeah, I mean, just, if anybody needs our help, velocitypartnersgroup.com is the consulting business. Technology is apextech.it.
IT.
Yeah, well, Italy, we stole it, but that's, we can help there. And then we've got some gigs coming up. We're playing the Watermark 10-year anniversary. We actually played the night it opened. So they called us back for the 10-year in October, on October 9th. We've got our greatest hits show at Phil Brady's October 23rd for our small band. And then we're playing December 6th at LSU for that charity concert again. And if you want, I'll get y'all some tickets to give away to people on the show if you'd like.
Yeah, no, that'd be huge.
The charity shows are great. It's a full 17-piece big band, multiple singers.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
I'd love
big
to see
deal.
that.
It's going to be all holiday, so it's been great. And then we end up the year, the next week, we play Bocage Bracket Club's Christmas party. And then I'm done till next year.
It's Christmas. It's 5 days away from.
Yeah, we used to do the New Year's and all that and stuff. But, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more selfish. We hang out with our kids and we go to Texas to the lake house and shoot fireworks because we can't do it here. And more family oriented these days on that stuff. So. But yeah, that stuff would be great. Anything we can do to help small businesses in Louisiana, that's what we want to do.
You got it. We'll be sure to link everything in the show notes as well as on website and social media. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. And like I said, happy to come back whenever. And if there's anything, that comes up with you guys in the show, we want to be there to help you promote it. So just let us know.
You got it. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
And thank you everybody else for listening or watching. We'll see you next week on another episode of The Patty G Show.